Hello friends. Since the last tutorial I fixed all of my sprites. It took a second, but I had some handy tools to deal with that. So now everything, all the sprites I have should be aligned to the grid or like to the pixels of the world correctly. Right, and I've also decorated this place a little bit after last tutorial. And now let's begin with a little bit of the coding part. This is a trashy apartment and I'm going to add a little cutscene where the player like walks in, places down a box because they've moved here and the place is just trashed and we need to clean this place up. Okay, so first things first, let's go into our own start cutscene. Previously we just added this and added that sound or music to play, but we don't have any sounds yet. That will come at a later date. I can add them afterwards. But now, usually you'd start the scene by adding music to the on-start cutscene, but we don't have that, so let's just create the on-start cutscene for us. So usually what I do is on start is just the same things that happen every time when you enter this scene. So I want to create a separate on start cutscene. So this scene would launch all the things that happens, like music, or ambient sounds, like something that happens every time, whatever the game state is that start playing in the scene. And in this start then, after all the other things have done, let's add an variable of local and let's call this start cutscene. We check here if local start cutscene is equal to false. If it's equal to false, then we go action list run in scene and we drag our onStart cutscene here. And we will wait until it's finished. And then this cutscene will be our start cutscene that runs only once, because after this cutscene has run, there's a variable set. It sets this local cutscene to true, so this would then not run again. So let's start working on this. Firstly, I'd like to place the player down here, not at the very like the start here, because this is when the player enters this apartment, they will just spawn here. It might be a little bit lower, that's fine. But I want to create here in the scene marker 2D. Let's select that and drag it down. Let's place our player right here at the beginning. So object teleport is player and teleport to this marker that we just added. We can also teleport the camera, so it's like more instant if your camera is lagging behind a little bit, if your settings are in a way that the follow speed is not at max, it might just come afterwards and go to the player a little bit slowly. So let's teleport the camera so it's instant. Let's make sure that the player is face direction, affect player up, and let's make it instant. This works in a 3D scene also, the face direction, but it's usually better in 3D scenes to face objects when you have like a specific direction. It's a little bit more difficult to like handle. Well, I have 2D sprites in 3D scenes, but still this is a bit more difficult to deal with, and there's the direction relative thing. But in here, when we are in 2D scene, as a character face direction works just fine. So it is facing up, then we create character move to point is player. We don't need to pathfind. And then we go to our marker 2D. Let's name this. Naming conventions are important. Start marker 2D. And then name this walk marker 2D. Yes. Move this marker about here. Select that marker as the marker to reach. We will wait until finish. We can add minimum distances to it and enforce time limits if we want. This would basically make sure that the player will not get stuck if there's like a collider that stops the player from walking to this specific marker. So the time limit would allow us to teleport or stop moving to that marker. But we don't need that right now. What we want to do now after they've walked to this marker, we want the player to face left. So it faces this box pile here. As you can see, let's drag this actually to our interactables folder. I've prepared this. So the boxes are here. There is one box and two boxes. So what we want to do here is select both of these. We add, remember, visibility to these two boxes here. So the two boxes are at start, visibility is off and the other is on. So after the player has turned left, then we should play an audio here, like the player will place the other box on the other box. So let's just add for now a little bit of weight, like half a second maybe, to fill for the gap that has the audio, then when we have those. And then we go object visibility. We will make the box that needs to go visible at visible. And then the other box will go invisible. So make sure the box that is visible at start goes to invisible. And the box that is invisible needs to go visible. Like so. So now we are basically just changing out these two boxes. And let's also make sure that the order in layer is follow sorting map, add that, press on the live preview, then delete this component. We don't need it to be there at all times. Oh, I also modified our sorting map a little bit. I added more of these. It's 0.25 is like the size of each of these regions. So it's a little bit more control on that. But yes, when you place an object in the scene, if the player can walk in front and behind it, then you should add that. If the object is on a wall or the player can't go behind it, it can just stay at 0. And when you have a table like this that has order in layer, if you want to put objects on top of that, just put them there and raise the order in layer by 1. So they're on top of the table. Okay, we place the box. Let's maybe add another weight, a small one. So things are not like instant when we move around and change directions. We place the box. Maybe we could, when the player starts talking, we face down, so technically we're facing the camera, and add a little dialogue to our player then. So action type dialogue, play speech, player line. So did we actually add a name to our character here in the player? It has the speaker label here. So this will be shown on the label of the player name. So line text is, let's say, That's the last of them. So we are moving in. Just add a box to that. We could add more boxes to here to like show that we've actually moved in, but that's not important right now. That's the last of them. After saying that line, move direction, paste back up, and paste, copy and paste the dialogue again, and change the line. God, what a dump. There. Let's add another line saying I should clean this up. There. And then, do we need anything else? Here we could add an objective. And we need to add it to our AC Game Editor inventory. And there is a category for objectives. Let's create a new objective. And name this cleanup. And description would just say this place is a dump. I need to clean up. Started, completed. We don't need a failed state. We cannot fail this objective. So objective, set state, cleanup, started, and we can also select after if there are multiple objectives. And when we start a new objective, we could choose to select it automatically after. Okay, we have a new objective. We don't really have an objective menu, or like we have the menu, but I don't think we have any. Does it have a button to? Yeah, no. Let's just create an input key, and toggle key should be objectives. This is a very basic, this is the default layout for the objective menu. We'll probably create our own menus here at some point, but not yet. I'm just going to show the functionality. To open the objectives menu, we need to go into your games folder and input manager and add objectives button here and give it a binding. Listen, press O, select that, mouse and keyboard, save as it. No. Now we can open our objectives menu by pressing O. Sounds simple enough, yes. And now when we have our objective and we have our objective menu can be opened. What does the action list enter on hide selected objective? What does this do? Hide objectives, selected title. Ding, 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 ding. It's hiding everything. Why is it hiding the menu elements? I'm not sure. Let's see what's going on with that. Action list editor. Go back to our start cutscene. We are down here. We will add the variable set local start cutscene, set it to true. Auto arrange, and our action list is now neatly arranged. Yes, that is our start cutscene for now. We will add the audio and stuff later. So now we have an objective. Clean this place up. Well, I have prepared these trash objectives all around the map. We need to go and click all of these to clean them out. So we just select all of the trash, add component, hotspot. Don't worry about that now. Highlight. And then we will also add parameters. So set interaction parameters is what we want also here. And another thing, remember transform, because we will be moving these objects, all of this trash away from the scene. And we need actually add another marker here in the scene. Let's move it to the top and off-screen marker. Let's create that first, and we need to place this off-screen marker literally off-screen, where the player could never see it again. So this is where we'll move all the trash once we've clicked on them. Just away from sight, never to be seen again. Okay, you have all of your trash with hotspots. We can add label if we want to clean, for example. It would show the name, like either the name of the hotspot. If it's like a character, you could add the name of the character here, or if you want, you can also just place the interaction that will automatically happen when you click on this. You can also just add a space, because if you don't add anything here, it will default to the name of the hotspot. If you don't want anything to show, you can just add a space and it will just highlight the object, not show anything, not the text. But let's add the clean to like make it seem clear that we are cleaning these objects. Object to highlight will be itself. So we need to do that to every object here. So let's copy and paste the label to everything, the clean label, all of the trash here, copy paste to everything. The trash can is actually special. We will add that last because it's a little bit different functionality when we add that. All the other clutter and trash we will clean just normally. Okay, and then add the highlight to all of these. Did we have a, hold on, we need to do this first. Hold on. Let's not make sure all of your highlights are the objects themselves. So we are not highlighting anything else when we are hovering over the different objects. That's quite important. So we will create a single use interaction, clean use. And we actually want this to use the parameters. So we don't want to create like the clean, like duplicate it for every single object. Add all of the actions for each of the objectives. We just create one. When the interaction is the same for each of these different objects, it's better to use parameters. So let's create a new parameter. This parameter would be of type GameObject and name self-reference. And then another objective with also GameObject. This would be the off-screen marker. I believe that's all we need. So clean, open that. What would happen? We would also add a noise to this, but we don't have that yet, so let's add that later. So we would object teleport. And now we have, because we are using these parameters, we have these P buttons here. So we are overriding this field with parameter. So object move is self-reference and teleport to is off-screen marker. That's everything we need to do. If we didn't use parameters, we would need to do this teleport. We would always have to choose all the objects and the off-screen markers, and then we would have to copy and paste or like duplicate this same action list and add to each one individually. But since we are using the parameters, we don't need to do that. So each of the trash objects need to have the same interaction. And how this works is we added the set interaction parameters. For each of these, self-reference is itself, and off-screen marker would be the off-screen marker. So do the same for everything. And the beauty of this is actually, if we did this in a little different way, and we just had to change the sprites, if we duplicate an object with these interaction parameters, it will automatically update the interaction parameters. If it's referencing self objects, it will automatically add to that. But we are not doing that. We just need to do this for each of the objects. So interaction parameters, self-reference, and off-screen marker. And we are not actually going to add that. We are creates its own for the trash can because it's an special individual. So it will have its own interaction. Let's check our controls. Did we have flash hotspots? It's tab by default. Okay. So let's see if that actually works. The highlights. So if we move our mouse, okay, tab highlights the objects. And the hotspots don't currently have the most important part, which would be physics 2D. It needs to have a collider. So use simple colliders, box, circle, something like that. I believe box is just fine here. When you add that, it should automatically size it to the sprite size. So all of these should be good. Yeah, the box colliders can be on the boxes too. And they won't be triggers, but all of the trash, they should be set to trigger. Is trigger. And maybe not the trash can, because we don't want to work on that. Okay, now we have all of our objects here. If we press the button, it will flash. And then we have, we don't want to use those different cursors. We could just have the same cursor for everything. That's too big cursor right now. Let's change that in a bit, but yeah, we can work on these. The boxes, actually, their collider is too big. That's fine, and we can work on this. So, when we click on each individual object, they're gonna get cleaned, like so. We just click on them and they're gone. They will be moved. And so we are done. There's another thing that we need to add to this functionality regarding the okay, let's remove the box collider from the box that's going to be hidden. And we could also go back to our onStart cutscene. And when we place the box, we can also move it out of the way, just in case. So, which box is it? It's this one. Let's just teleport that off screen also in here. And then this box's collider should, hold on, let's take out the grid. Just the size of the box itself, about there, so we can actually walk behind it. Okay, that's good. A little bit of edit there, but yeah, the trash can, we need to do a thing here. And let's add another cutscene. This will be trash check. I duplicated that, so let's select everything and delete selected. We need to add another local cutscene. So this is trash check, and it is an integer. And we will check on that. And in the clean, we will also action list run this trash check after we have cleaned the thing. Wait until finish doesn't really matter if you checked or not, because we are always like, well, depending on the cutscene, but we are also pausing gameplay when this is running, so it doesn't matter at that point, but yeah. It depends on the action list on what you're doing, if we need to use this actually. So if there's stuff after this cutscene, then this would be relevant. If we want to do something else after this runs. If we don't have this, then this runs at the same time as this action list itself is running. So wait until finish would wait until this is done and then do this. So it's not really relevant here. But yes, we are doing the trash check on each clean, and we have also add variable set local trash check entered here, increase by 1. Add that before the trash check. So we are adding 1 to the trash check after picking up each piece of trash. And then after we have added the value, we are doing the trash check. And how many trash do we have? All of these. There's 14. So when the trash check is equal to 14, we can go and objective set state clean up completed. Job's done. And then we could do character, face direction is player down, is instant, and then add a little dialogue, player line. That's done. Now I can get to unpacking, let's say. And let's continue on that later. Okay, so we have all these doing the check, and then we have to create this one because it's a little bit different. So its clean functionality is essentially the same, but there's a little change. So let's delete that. It doesn't have the same parameters, so we need to actually add the trash can itself and the hotspot and the off-screen marker here to the teleport. And also, because this trash can, we can move it off the screen, but there is another sprite. If we go and look at the sprites, there's an upright trash can. So I want to add that here. Let's make sure it's aligned to the grid. It's perfect there. Let's add a little box collider to it so the player can't walk on top of it. Let's just size it down a little bit to about the size of the object itself. Yeah, that's fine. And its visibility, remember visibility on start would be off. So what we do in the cutscene here is at the same time when we are moving the tipped trash can out of the scene, we are going to object visibility, and the new trash can would then become visible at the same time. And that's it. So let's save. Let's play. Let's see our functionality. We actually need to, hold on start. equal to false is not true. No, this is wrong. If the if local start cutscene is equal to false, then we run this. Not if not met. This is the correct way. So now, when we play, the on start cutscene should run. Yes, we are walking, we are placing the box, we are facing down, we are saying this comment. We face up, we say this line, and we should clean. Let's open up our, yes, we have objectives, we have active cleanup. This place is a dump, I need to clean up. Yes, great. So, we can now clean. And let's see our functionality on this one. Oh, that's great. Yep, hold on. Just a little thing on the trash can. Box collider is not. Oh, I added a box collider. Yeah, let's not add a box collider. Let's add a box collider 2D. That's the correct one when working with 2D. So let's move this like so. Again, did we add a box collider to anything else? I hope not. These are all box collider 2Ds, as they should. Let's play. And there we go. We have this cutscene. We can walk behind and front of these boxes. We can clean. We can clean that. This is satisfying. When we are actually modifying the environment visually, like so. There's more trash in the toilet, to clean those, and then when we have all of the trash out, we are running the trash check cutscene. There we go. Easy as that. And then we would continue doing other things after that. So, we are getting into the meat of the action list editor and into the heart of Adventure Creator itself. This is the best part, this coding stuff, visual coding, node-based stuff. It's really great. It works. It's easy to manage. It's easy to grasp. And it's easy to teach, I suppose. Okay, yes, that's perfect for this tutorial. I hope to be able to get this out weekly. I might be recording a couple of these videos per week, and then I would have some buffer time basically to create more of these, so there wouldn't be so long spaces of time between the episodes. So I will try my best to get weekly, and Saturday at 6 p.m. my time, so that's Finnish time, whatever that is. Yes, GMT +2 or something. Yes, this is good tutorial. Thank you. Let's see you next time.